Pistons in Game 3, not able to take a 3-0 series lead. Goes to 2-1 now. Cleveland gets the win, 116-109. Now, it looked like initially we were in for a similar game to that of Games 1 and 2. More so Game 1, with the sloppiness and bad turnovers from Cleveland. They had several bad turnovers early on in the opening few minutes, but this time around, the Pistons really could not jump on those opportunities, could not really capitalize the way that they had previously in the first two games of this series. Cleveland was sloppy out of the gates, yes, but despite that, it was only a pretty slim Pistons advantage until the Cavs got going. They got back into it, and they were able to go into the second quarter with a lot of momentum and able to go into halftime with a 16-point lead. Definitely not the second quarter that the Pistons wanted. But they did what they needed to in the third quarter. They got back into it. Just like that, we got a close game in the fourth quarter, including briefly taking the lead. But the Cavs, man, hot shooting in this one. Clutch scoring as well. The definitive stretch, the definitive moment in this game, I think, was in that fourth quarter. The Pistons are within 5, within striking distance. And then James Harden, three-pointer in the corner, gets fouled by Cade Cunningham, so a 4-point play. Whatever you want to say about that foul, that's still what happened. 4-point play, misses the free throw, but then an offensive rebound and then another score. So just like that, a 5-point swing. The Pistons go from being down 5 to being down 10. And it's like, oh, shoot. That's a crushing blow right there. But regardless, Pistons are still closing this game strong. And who steps up? Well, in addition to Donovan Mitchell, but James Harden, funny enough, in this one, who had a terrible, by all measures, Game 2. He was hitting some clutch shots. Donovan Mitchell hitting some clutch shots. And the Pistons were right there. But just the Cavs, they closed even better. And those few times that the Pistons were not able to execute in those final 2 or 3 minutes, the Cavs were able to, and able to get that brief edge. And that was it. So down go the Pistons in Game 3. As I mentioned, now 2-1 series. Pistons have another opportunity tonight to take a 3-1 series lead back to Detroit for Game 5 on Wednesday. But I think the difference maker in this one was, the Cavs were just hot. Obviously they still had some turnover problems, but when they did get set up in the half court, they were just exceptional. Especially Donovan Mitchell. This was a Donovan Mitchell definitive performance in this one. So let's go back to Game 1, looking at the shooting splits. Pretty evenly. Pistons shot 44% from the floor, 38% from 3. Cavs 45% from the floor, 37% from 3. And then ahead to Game 2. 107-97, Pistons get another win. The Cavs ice cold 42% and 22% respectively from the field, while we saw the Pistons red hot shooting from 3, 50%, 14 of 28 in Game 2, which I knew outright. The chances of having the Pistons shoot red hot like that from 3 again, don't count on it. Let's just say that. And the Pistons in this game on Saturday, offense was pretty much in line with the offense that they played with in Games 1 and 2. 45% shooting from the floor, 36% shooting from 3. But that's the difference maker right there. Cavs, despite 17 fewer field goal attempts they had much better shooting, 58% from the floor. They made 2 more field goals than the Pistons did, as I mentioned, with 17 fewer shots overall. 58% shooting from the floor, 38% shooting from 3. Obviously, it's more the 58% shooting than that 3-point shooting there. So the Cavs' half-court execution was phenomenal in this one, and obviously they were able to close this game very strong. Otherwise, still a pretty even game in terms of the rebounding, 49-47 in favor of the Pistons, but the Pistons dominated the offensive glass, 17-5 in offensive rebounds, 19-11 second chance points there. And as I mentioned, even though the Cavs only had 5 offensive rebounds, 11 second chance points, they're really capitalizing on all of their offensive rebound opportunities, while the Pistons only 19 second chance points for 17 offensive rebounds. We've seen them in this series, no less. The playoffs in general maximize their offensive rebound opportunities, but not necessarily to the same extent in this game. Turnovers were very even. As I mentioned, the Cavs overall cleaned it up. They were very sloppy early on, and the Pistons just could not really capitalize on that like they did, especially in game 1 with how sloppy Cleveland played. But 27 points to 19 in favor of Cleveland, points off turnovers. So Cleveland was actually making the Pistons pay a lot more for their turnovers. And they did have their stretches of being sloppy in this game. But, I mean, sometimes you got to tip your cap. We saw the Pistons have their red-hot shooting game from 3 in game 2. And now this was the Cavaliers' red-hot shooting game overall. And Donovan Mitchell, he was easily the player of the game in this one for the Cavs. 35 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists on 13 of 24 shooting. And again, most of that damage done inside the 3-point range. He was just 2 of 8 from 3. So from 2, he was 11 of 16. That is elite stuff right there. And then James Harden as well. He had a bounce-back game, had a couple big shots at the end. 8 of 14, 19 points. And then Jarret Allen had another big game in the paint, 7 of 9 shooting for 18 points for the Cavaliers. But the Pistons, you did get a triple-double from Cade Cunningham, although it took a lot of mileage, relatively speaking, statistically speaking as well, to get there. 27 points on just 10 of 27 shooting, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, but he did have 8 turnovers as well. So again, 27, 10, and 10, fine-looking stat line, but I'm telling you, the shooting and the turnovers is Cade Cunningham's problem at times. There's times where he's shooting a high percentage of not really turning the ball over. Those are when he is a MVP caliber Cade Cunningham, but this one, a little bit of a tougher final stat line, despite at face value looking pretty nice. Jalen Duren, 11 points, 5 of 8 shooting. Just still seems like there's just something more wanting that needs to be had there with Jalen Duren in this playoff run. It just doesn't really feel hungry. I mean, we saw this even back in the Orlando Magic series. Doesn't have that same hunger as it looked like he had in the regular season. Tobias Harris, another spectacular playoff game again, 7 of 14, shooting for 21 points. And how about Paul Reed? I think you see a lot of people online calling for this guy to get more minutes. I think there's definitely a case to be made there. 9 minutes, 11 points, perfect 4 of 4 shooting, 3 rebounds. He did have 2 fouls in those 9 minutes, so that would be a concern with giving him more minutes. But I definitely do think you need to get him more minutes, especially with the paint domination relatively, the paint edge, I should say, that Cleveland has over Detroit with their 2 big men, Evan Mobley and Jarret Allen. It's just too much for Jalen Duren to try to contain just himself down low, especially Jalen Duren, just a little undersized compared to those 2 guys. Evan Mobley, power forward at 6'11", and then Jarret Allen, 6'9", a little bit undersized as a center himself, but Jalen Duren 6'10". Still just two great big men. It's a lot for him to just handle on that side of the ball. And then Tobias Harris, a small power forward at 6'8". You do have Asar Thompson, spectacular defender, but I don't know, he would be a little bit undersized to guard those guys as well, 6'7", being the small forward. And obviously there's a lot more attention from Asar Thompson that needs to be had on the perimeter, trying to lock down guys like Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. So, yeah, Pistons, again, offensively, I thought their offense was fine for the most part. Again, that's pretty much what they've been doing all playoffs in terms of their numbers, their shooting percentages, turnovers and such, but just that 58% shooting from Cleveland, that can't happen again. And in my opinion, it won't happen again. I don't think the Cavs are going to have that great of a shooting night. The Pistons have proven that the defense has been their calling card, not only on the season, but in this playoff run specifically, where they've cranked it up to 11 out of 10. Defensive intensity. They shut opposing teams down for long stretches. But with how many playoff games they've played now, already 10, I mean, 1 out of 10 games that the opponents truly go off and have a big offensive game like that. I mean, even then, 116, still a pretty low final number for the Cavs. But just that 58, that efficiency that they got there with, helping to clean up, not really clean up, but hide some of the other flaws that this Cleveland team had in this last game and has had in this series. But I would not count on another 58% shooting game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And again, keep in mind the level of difficulty of some of the shots that the Cavs had to make in the stretch to pull this game out. The Pistons were right there. But the Cavs, they closed this one. And they prevented a 3-0 deficit, which in the NBA basically assures you a series victory. Never in never in NBA history has a team overcome a 3-0 deficit. The reason I had the slip of NHL there was I was thinking at that moment that there has been 3-0 deficits comebacks in NHL history, but never in the NBA. So the Cavs did what they need to stay in this series, but you got to do it again. Game 4 tonight. As I mentioned, I think if the Pistons can, I don't really think they need to change much offensively. I think their offense is fine, but it's just that you got to find a way to get back to that level of defense that you have proven consistently that you're able to play time and time again in these playoffs. You got to find a way to take Donovan Mitchell out of the game. He has definitely found something in this series. I mean, he's always been known as a big scoring player, and he's put up some big numbers in this series, much less in the playoffs in general. So if the Pistons can find a way to get his shooting percentages back down to what they were more in games 1 and 2. He forced the ball out of his hands. James Harden, again, don't count on him on ever having that big of a game again. Shooting-wise, at least, 8 of 14. It's a very high percentage for a playoff James Harden. Games 1 and 2, 3 of 13 and 6 of 15. That's more in line of what you can expect from this guy. And as I mentioned, I had that feeling that they would try to do some things to change things defensively for this Pistons team, getting specifically Jalen Duren out of the paint, try to open things up down low, and I think we definitely saw that, especially in the first half. The Cavs doing just that, trying to open up the paint more, trying to really take advantage of this paint edge that they should hypothetically have with their front court versus the Pistons' undersized front court. So we'll see what adjustments the Pistons make going into tonight's game. A little bit of a later start tonight, 8 o'clock tip-off. Live coverage right here on Jackson's Fox Sports 101.9 FM. Game will also be on NBC and Peacock. But the Pistons got to get back to that defense. Force the Cavs to shoot somewhere under 58%. And I think the Pistons will be going back to Detroit with a 3-1 series lead and have a chance to close this thing out on Wednesday. But it's all about those adjustments. Punch, counterpunch. And as I mentioned, this was by no means a perfect game for the Cavs as well. They still had a lot to be desired there as well. So they still have some more adjustments that they could be making on both sides of the floor to make sure that they come out swinging and playing very strong to try to go back to Detroit even at a 2-2 series coming up on Wednesday. So we'll watch that space. Again, tip-off at 8 o'clock tonight right here on Jackson's Fox Sports 101.9 FM.
If you missed today's installment of On the Docket, podcast it at foxsports1019.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to tune in live weekdays at noon on Jackson's Fox Sports 101.9 FM.